Title: I wasn't invited to my daughter's wedding in Paris, the same wedding I helped pay for. She told me by email, if you want to be a part of it, you can watch through the Google Earth window, lol. So I just said, sure, enjoy your big day. The next morning, she wouldn't stop calling me. But me, I was way too busy to pick up. Chapter 1. The email that broke something in me. I still remember the exact time it hit my inbox, 10:37 p.m. I had just come in from my evening walk, poured myself a glass of water, and sat down to check emails. Amid bills, bank statements, and a newsletter I never signed up for, there it was. Subject: No hard feelings, Dad. I clicked. Hi, Dad. I just wanted to let you know that Brandon and I are officially tying the knot in Paris next month. The chateau is booked, the guests are confirmed, and I'm so excited to marry the man of my dreams surrounded by people who truly matter. I know weddings can be awkward, so we decided not to invite you. It's nothing personal, just keeping things stress-free. If you really want to be part of it, maybe watch the chateau on Google Earth. You might catch a glimpse of the fun, LOL. Take care, Emily. No invite, no explanation, just a passive-aggressive laugh and a digital pat on the head like I was some forgotten ex-colleague. What stung the most? I paid for that chateau, $47,000. When she and Brandon couldn't make the down payment, guess who wired the money within an hour? Me, because I believed I was investing in her happiness, in her future. I didn't reply. I didn't scream. I didn't even cry. I just sat back, stared at the email, and smiled. Because something inside me shifted that night. A part of me stopped being a father who begged for inclusion and started being a man who plots very patiently. Chapter 2. The calm before my storm. I didn't call her. Didn't ask why. Didn't demand answers. Because deep down, I already knew. Ever since Brandon came into her life, Emily had slowly changed. The affection in her voice dulled. The gratitude vanished. What used to be thanks, Dad became, well, you should have done that anyway. She stopped calling me after her mother passed away. The only time I heard from her was when money was involved, but I still wired it every single time. That was my mistake. So when she finally showed her true colors with that email, I realized I wasn't part of her new world. I was just the ATM she used to fund it. So I got to work. First, I pulled every receipt, every wire, and every invoice from the past 3 years. I wasn't just funding the chateau I had paid for, their apartment's down payment, Brandon's startup that never materialized, her wedding dress deposit, flights, furniture, and even a designer dog for her Instagram, over $142,000 in total. You'd think that would have bought me a seat at the table. Apparently not. Next, I called up an old contact in Paris, Jacques, a lawyer I once helped when he got scammed by a tech vendor. Jacques owed me a favor. Can you confirm if Chateau de Bellecour is booked under my name? There was a pause on the line. Then he replied, yes, it is. You paid for it in full. They haven't transferred ownership yet. Why? Because, I said, we're going to make a few changes. I spent the next 5 days legally transferring the reservation out of Emily and Brandon's name, since they never had the authority to use it in the first place. And instead, I leased the venue to an international fashion brand filming a campaign that same weekend, for a profit. The cancellation clause? Brutal. The clause for guests traveling internationally with no event to attend? Even worse. But I wasn't done yet. I booked a quiet trip for myself the same weekend, somewhere with no Wi-Fi, no cell service, just peace, because I wanted her panic to echo in silence. Chapter 3. The Wedding That Never Was. Emily arrived at Chateau de Bellecour in a white vintage Rolls-Royce, veil perfectly pinned, champagne flute in hand. Brandon sat beside her, smug as ever in a rented tux. Her phone was buzzing. Congratulatory texts, tags, and Instagram stories from her influencer friends already at the gates. But something was wrong. The moment they pulled up, the valet didn't open the door. Instead, a security guard approached with a clipboard. Names? Emily Thompson. Bride, she said proudly. The guard blinked. There's no event under that name. This chateau has been booked for the weekend by Maison Valence. A private fashion shoot. No guests allowed. Brandon leaned forward. No, there must be a mistake. We paid... Correction, the guard replied. Someone paid, but it wasn't you. Ownership and reservation rights reverted back to the payer 4 days ago. The shoot began this morning. At that moment, a crowd of models and film crew swept past, shutters clicking. A world-renowned photographer barked instructions in French, and just behind them, towering floral arrangements and custom signage read, "Private event, no trespassing." Emily's cheeks went pale. No, this is my wedding venue, she screamed. Cameras from her influencer friends were already rolling, and when they asked, "Wait, what's happening? Where are the guests supposed to go?" Panic started to ripple. One friend whispered, "Why didn't your dad show up? Isn't this his place?" Emily fumbled her phone from her clutch. She called me. I didn't pick up. She called again, and again. 11 missed calls by noon. Back at my peaceful mountain retreat, completely off-grid, I leaned back with a cup of hot coffee and smiled. She had mocked me in that email, told me to watch through Google Earth. Well now, the only ones watching were her guests, watching her fall apart. And the best part? That wasn't even the full revenge, because the money trail, the contracts, and Brandon's shady startup funding were about to come back into play. Legally. But for now, let her stew in public humiliation. Chapter 4. When the house of cards collapsed by 2 p.m., Emily and Brandon were sitting in their limo parked along a rural French road, sweating, humiliated, and silent. Her mascara had smeared from frustrated tears. His phone was dead from constant calls, from vendors, videographers, florists, and worst of all, their guests. "Why did your dad cancel everything?" Brandon finally snapped. "He didn't cancel anything. He paid for it. At least I thought he did," Emily muttered, fingers trembling as she opened her email. She pulled up the wedding contracts, venue, catering, photography, all confirmed, all prepaid, until she opened the latest updates. Client, Emily Thompson, contract void, transferred to original payee per clause 4B. And under that, payee name, Michael Thompson. Her heart sank. Brandon leaned over her shoulder. "Wait, he owns this venue?" She turned slowly. "Not just the venue." "I did say I was too busy to pick up, didn't I? I was meeting with my lawyer and with the forensic accountant I'd hired 6 months ago when Emily began hiding financial moves, opening secret credit cards, and funneling joint account money into a side business under Brandon's name. She thought I hadn't noticed, but I had built that business, funded every dollar of it, set it up in my name, and before I signed anything over, I embedded full control clauses into the operating agreements. Brandon's new company? Yeah, it was mine. Back at the chateau, the crew was packing up. I had personally called the photographer and offered the location as a favor, free of charge. My only request? Make sure no one dressed like a bride gets into the shots. That evening, Emily posted a cryptic story. "Sometimes people betray you in ways you never expected. I'll be taking a break from social media for a while." Brandon? His LinkedIn profile vanished the next day. His tech venture collapsed when all bank accounts were frozen under court order, pending legal ownership clarification. And me? I went hiking in the Swiss Alps, alone, peacefully. My daughter had mocked me, disrespected my role in her life, and weaponized her privilege. I hadn't raised her to be like this, but I sure as hell wouldn't finance it. Now she knew what it felt like to lose everything in one elegant, silent stroke. Epilogue. A new chapter, without her 6 months later. I sat on the porch of my cabin, a warm mug in hand, watching the sunset stretch over the pine-covered hills of Vermont. There was no noise here, no drama, no passive-aggressive emails, just peace. A soft buzz from my phone interrupted the moment. Emily, again. She'd tried everything since that disastrous wedding. Apologies. Long-winded voice notes. even an old childhood photo of us with the caption, "Can we go back to this?" But the damage was done. She had disrespected me, used me, and publicly ridiculed the man who had spent decades sacrificing for her. I'd tried to raise her right, but she let entitlement and ego rot her core. She and Brandon had broken up 2 weeks after the fiasco. Apparently, when the money dried up, so did the love. He blamed her for everything. She blamed me. And the internet? Oh, they had a field day. A guest had recorded the entire meltdown and uploaded it on TikTok. It went viral. Bride gets left at her own wedding after mocking her dad, then finds out he owns the venue. 5.3 million views and counting. In one final message, she wrote, "Dad, I was wrong. I don't want money. I want my father back. Please." I stared at the message, thumb hovering over the screen. After a long breath, I replied, "When you value people over appearances, we can talk." Then I set the phone down and turned back to the sunset. Because forgiveness takes time. And sometimes, peace is worth more than Paris. Was this revenge perfectly justified? Tell us what you would have done in the comments below. Like the story, share it with someone who needs this energy, and subscribe to Lauren's story for more jaw-dropping tales of betrayal and justice. Because here, every lie has its reckoning, and every betrayal finds its shadow. Stay sharp, stay strong, and stay tuned.